Had the big touchdown, the sort of, it was called Farvian, and it's really hard to say it wasn't. He was throwing off balance, but he got that ball off in a perfect spiral and scored the touchdown. So a couple big differences there. One, A-Rod was very efficient with the ball. And two, when you trade off an interception for a touchdown, your team has a fantastic chance of winning that game. So hats off and props to A-Rod in that regard. AD, 19 rushes for 103 yards, as we mentioned. Ryan Grant, 12 rushes, less rushes, 492 yards. So Ryan Grant, again, with more yards per rush than Adrian Peterson. So once again, we match up very well. There's no Ryan Grant has showed twice in a row that he can match up with Adrian Peterson. We took him out of the game last season at Lambeau, and that's part of the reason I thought we hadn't really seen what AD could do against us in Green Bay. But Ryan Grant just comes up, steps up to the plate every single time. The guy was hurt, had a hammy, and obviously he tweaked it because he was warming it up on the sidelines on the bike, and yet he was one step away from a touchdown on a huge run when we needed it. I believe that was a third down play. So props to Ryan Grant. Receivers, the top receivers, Mills for the Vikings had 3 receptions for 49 yards. So Tavares Jackson, he distributed the ball fairly well, but there was no, Bernard Berrien was not a factor in this game. Greg Jennings for the Green Bay Packers had 5 receptions for 91 yards. A big day for him. And Donald Driver with some great catches, too. Some of A-Rod's best passes were to Donald Driver. And so great job, Greg Jennings and Donald Driver. Of course, we've got to give props to Will Blackman. Glad to see him healthy and not hurt. I hope he makes it this whole season because he is a difference maker as a special team specialist. Goes out there, a 76-yard punt return for a touchdown, absolutely huge for Green Bay. But this guy also has been solid. Our cornerback core now has become very solid. We saw Tramon Williams out there a couple times, had passes caught while he was out there, but did not commit any major gaffes, stayed with his guy, made sure tackles. I think we're in better shape than we were last year in that regard, which means our defense can go nowhere but up from here as long as we can stay healthy. And for all intents and purposes, if we're smart with our players, we will get healthier. So health, of course, being important. I do want to go through the injuries during this game. As of Thursday, Josh Sitton was out, of course, with his knee. Did not practice. Brandon Jackson with a concussion did not practice. That's hopefully just a precautionary measure. Scotty Wells, of course, with his back, or whatever it is, back now, did not practice. Charles Woodson did not practice with his toe. I'm hoping that's nothing. I didn't see anything real specific on it. It's probably just, he's one of the older guys that they sit out if there's any kind of question mark at all. So limited to practice today. Atari Bigby with a bicep. I hope that's not any problem. Chad Clifton with his knees. That seems to be a regular thing. KGB with his knee, getting some rest, kind of seeing where it's at. Ryan Grant with his hammy. I hope that this does not become a lingering injury. It very well could be. We need him down the stretch. I'd rather see him sit a couple games and get healthy. Even though Brandon Jackson did not look good in this game. Ruvel Martin has a finger that, as a receiver, of course, that's something you just want to rest and get healthy. I'm assuming he will be fine and will play. Full practice, though. This is another point of interest. To James Jones back on the field, and we look forward to seeing our wide receiver core get better. So James Jones out on the field. That guy is big. I'm going to tell you right now, you watch him during this season, the guy does not ever go down on the first hit. You always have to take him twice. He will get knocked down out of bounds if you get an angle on him, but this guy and we saw him in the preseason, take a hit that knocked his helmet off. 2 defenders end up on the ground, and he ends up scampering into the end zone for a touchdown without his helmet. This is why Ted Thompson said he picked him up. He said when James Jones goes up for the ball, defenders fall apart, and that's the guy we want on the field. Charlie Pepra with a hammy, he also was full practice this week. So we are looking good, and once again, I can't say enough for a team that seemed to have a lot of question marks to really come together, be well prepared, execute well. So there's plenty to rant about, but we are going to do our section now. It's an expanded section called rants and raves. So here we go, rants and raves. I am going to start with rants, and it begins and ends with penalties. Oh my goodness, guys, what is going on out there? 3 penalties in a row. I mean, we had like series just torn asunder by penalties. Not to mention Donald Driver going to the end zone on a beautiful pass from Aaron Rodgers, standing in front of the crowd, doing the dance, and then having to walk it all the way back to the huddle. Don't do that to him. I know that was a run pass option, and Spitz apparently thought it was a run. There's got to be some communication that broke down in that, but it just is without excuse. Got to get fixed one way or the other, because we cannot, when we go up against the Cowboys, we cannot be committing penalties like that. So that is the one and only rant. There are other things I could say. We could talk about a few questionable calls the refs made, but I really think in the end, all the questionable calls against the Packers, we kind of got given back. Al Harris, it shouldn't have been called on one pass interference and was. Should have been called on another and was not. So we're just going to call it even and move on to our raves. I've got a lot to rave about. Of course, we've got to say Aaron Rodgers with that fantastic performance. Without a doubt, under all of the pressure he was under, and there was no bigger Aaron Rodgers fan than me that day. I want this guy to perform well because our team depends on it, but most of all because none of what happened, none of the backstory to Aaron Rodgers is his fault. This guy sat and waited forever, for 4 hours to get picked by the Packers. He waited for 4 years to play for the Packers. This is his year. When there was no more question about that, there was no more question about who I was backing. It was Aaron Rodgers. I still watch what Brett Favre is doing, and I know people are getting tired of hearing about him. But hey, he's out there playing. There's nothing wrong with him doing well also. So great job, A-Rod, handling that pressure, staying calm. But then when he made a great play, showed a little emotion, like it really felt good. You felt like he really wanted it, and that's what we need and what we've been used to in the past. Linebackers, our linebackers were active. That was one thing I didn't mention, but I also predicted. I said watch for our pressure this year, not just to come from our front four. Watch for our linebackers to become a force in blitzes, blitz packages, twists, and things like that, and they were. If it wasn't for Tavares Jackson being the fantastically mobile quarterback that he is, we would have had so many sacks in this game. We were down, breathing down his neck all day long. It's going to happen. We are playing much better in our blitz packages, and we are much more astute. And Barnett had one. Papinga, Hawk, any of these guys can come at you at any time from any set. So we are going to be not just playing well, but we are going to be confusing offenses this year. So I'm going to try to close it down. There are so many more raves I can say. Will Blackman, of course. Greg Jennings, of course, with a couple big catches. There's a lot to rave about, but mainly just a big-time team win and a big-time Monday night win for the Green Bay Packers. A lot of people looking for us to lose that game. Some, including me, dubious as to whether we would win it. Of course, wanting us to, and all our desires came true because we beat the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football. So that's going to do it for this week's show. I am going to come back, though, and have a quick Packers-Lions preview show so that you guys can get all the information on what our team looks like coming up against the Lions. Lions lost the Atlanta Falcons. That was a surprise to me. I think the Lions are an improved team. They were very aggressive on defense, but after we played kind of as well as we should have, this is as well as our team should play very easily, and eliminate some penalties, I think we will handle them soundly at this point. So until next time, enjoy this big-time Packer win. Looking forward to the Detroit game, and until that preview show, as always, go Pack.